Now that we have a definition of the situation, we want to ask the question, what would happen if this problem no longer existed? This is the long-term outcome of the program, or the ultimate impact the program wants to have on a macro level. If our problem is parents being reported to the child welfare system for child abuse, then if this problem no longer existed, parents would consistently parent safely, and children would be free from abuse or neglect. These are the long-term outcomes in this logic model. Next, we can identify the intermediate outcomes. These are the outcomes that need to happen in order for the long-term outcomes to occur. Intermediate outcomes reflect changes in behavior, skills, or abilities. For example, in this logic model, if long-term outcomes are achieved, then parents need to first be using positive parenting behaviors and accessing community resources for ongoing support. Next, we can identify the short-term outcomes. These are the outcomes that need to happen in order for the intermediate outcomes to occur. Short-term outcomes reflect changes in knowledge, feelings, attitudes, perceptions, and understanding. These changes are considered to happen before changes in behaviors, skills, or abilities. So in this logic model, if parents are using positive parenting behaviors and they're accessing community resources, then they must first have knowledge about positive parenting and also knowledge about how to access community resources. I just used a backward mapping process to define these three types of outcomes. I started with the situation I want to solve and then identified the long-term outcomes and worked backwards to define the other outcomes in the model. You can also use a forward mapping process to define the three types of outcomes. Either process is fine to use as long as the logical relationships between the categories are clear. To create clearly stated logical relationships between categories, you can use if-then statements. Using a forward mapping logic, the if-then statements for this logic model are: if parents increase their knowledge about positive parenting and about community resources, then parents will use positive parenting behaviors and access community resources for ongoing support. If parents are using positive parenting and community resources, then they will consistently parent safely and children will be free from abuse and neglect. The outputs in the logic model are the services being delivered and the participation of clients. In this example, the program will deliver an 8-week positive parenting class, and parents who have been reported to the child welfare system will attend these classes. So if the agency provides this service and parents involved in the child welfare system attend, then we can expect the short-term, intermediate, and long-term outcomes to occur. The inputs are the resources needed for the program to operate. In this example, the program needs funding, a positive parenting curriculum, training for staff, a convenient location for the parents, and a referral system for parents to enter the program. External factors are larger circumstances that are likely to affect the program, but over which the program has little control. These factors could be resources or barriers and can help promote or limit program success. For example, the demographic characteristics of the parents who are referred to the program represent an external factor. If the program has classes in English and Spanish, but parents who speak only Vietnamese begin to be referred, then the program will need to respond to this change. Other examples of external factors might be changes in the larger economy or social welfare policies that affect parents or the program. Assumptions are conditions or resources that are needed for the success of the program. For this program to be successful, it will need continued funding, an effective referral system, continued availability of staff, an effective positive parenting curriculum, and also a fundamental assumption of this program is that unsafe parenting is caused, at least in part, by a lack of knowledge, skills, and access to ongoing community resources. Hopefully, if I have defined the situation accurately, then there is some evidence to support the assumption that a positive parenting class and information about community resources will lead to effective parenting. That was step number 5 in defining the situation. A theory of change describes how and why a program is expected to achieve its stated outcomes. Throughout the process of creating this logic model, I've developed a series of if-then statements that describe the logical connections between the inputs, outputs, and outcomes. Taken together, these statements of logical connections between the concepts in the logic model are the theory of change. For example, if we assume, hopefully with some level of evidence, that unsafe parenting is caused by a lack of knowledge, skills, and resources, then when parents are reported to the child welfare system for child abuse, if we provide them with education and access to resources, then this will help solve the problem.